All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to our SEAC meeting for Monday, February the 9th, 2026. So we'll start off our meeting this evening with the land acknowledgement of traditional territory. And this evening we do have Superintendent Jacobs going to read that for us.
Okay. Simcoe County District School Board acknowledges that we are situated on the traditional land of the Anishinaabe people. The Anishinaabe include the Ojibwe, Odawa, and Potawatomi nations, collectively known as the Three Fires Confederacy. We are dedicated to honoring Indigenous history and culture and committed to moving forward in the spirit of reconciliation and respect with all First Nation, Métis, and Inuit people.
Thank you very much. All right, so next on our agenda, we have the SEAC Statement of Beliefs, and tonight we have Principal Maxwell.
Great. So the Special Education Advisory Committee Statement of Belief, based on the belief in respect, leadership, integrity, collaboration, compassion, student-driven services, and the rights of all students to be included, we advocate that all students have equitable opportunities to learn and participate in inclusive school communities. They have support. They are supported in developing and maintaining relationships and participating in freely chosen activities and groups that result in a sense of belonging. Students' unique learning styles are recognized and planned for in a caring and sensitive manner, enabling them to learn and participate with dignity and respect. Students' strengths and special education needs are identified and responded to early, as this is paramount to their growth and development. Based on best practices and research, the SCDSB will adopt proactive, innovative practices to promote individual student capacities and gifts while addressing their special education needs. Education services are delivered using a collaborative and flexible process centered on the strengths and needs of the students, inclusive of family, schools, and community, and based on the best learning outcomes for the student. The student's voice is key to all decisions made on behalf and with the student.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, so that takes us to the roll call on our agenda. So we do have a couple of, we have regrets this evening from Trustee Lloyd. So Trustee Strawn is not here right now, but we just realized that today that we put her on two board committees and we had the meetings at the exact same time this evening. So she was, we weren't really thinking there when we did that, but she's going to try to come. She was going to try and do both. So we may see Trustee Strawn joining us later. And then we do have guests this evening. So thank you to our guests for joining us. We have Lisa Newton, and then we also have, I'm sorry, I'm losing you on my screen, Samantha Phillips. There you are over there. Thank you both for joining us. And then we have our new member joining us as well this evening, Shira Perry from Learning Disability Association of York Simcoe. Shira, I don't want to put you on the spot, but if you want to introduce yourself, feel free.
Okay, hi everyone. I'm excited to be here. I don't really know exactly what this is all about, so I'm excited to learn from all of you. And yes, I'm here through the LDAS, DAYS. I have three kids, all who are, well, actually one of them is not in Simcoe County District anymore, but two of my kids who are both in our special education department in the Simcoe board. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Excellent. Thank you for joining us. Well, we'll look forward to hearing your feedback along the way. And don't worry, I'll try and let you know how things go as we're doing things. Don't worry. But thanks for joining us. Okay. All right. So next up, we do have the approval of the agenda. So I'd be looking for a mover to approve the agenda as printed for this evening. Do I have a mover for that? Kevin, in a second. Do I have Kristen? Thank you very much. All those in favor? And that carries. Thank you very much. Okay, so next up, I would be looking for a mover to approve the minutes from our previous meeting. Do I have a mover for that? Kevin, thank you very much. Second by, I have a seconder for moving the minutes. Andrea, thank you. Does anyone have any questions or comments on the minutes from January? Okay, not seeing any. So I'll call the question. All those in favor? And that carries. Thank you very much. All right, do we have any declaration of conflict of interest this evening? Not seeing any. Okay, so we have no presentations. We have no items for decision, but we have a few items for information. So we have no follow-up from previous meetings, but we do have some staff reports. So the first one would be 2 A, so SEAC C2A, Special Education Identification and Achievement Trends with Superintendent Jacobs, Samantha Phillips, and Lisa Newton. So take it away, team, whenever you're ready.
All right, I'll start with the opening and then I'll pass it over to Samantha as we get into the presentation aspect. So I'll speak more to the report. So I'm pleased to share an update aligned with the Simcoe County District School Board strategic priorities in well-being, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and excellence in teaching and learning, as well as our ongoing operational plan for the 2025-26 school year. So at the Simcoe County District School Board, our commitment remains clear to maximize educational opportunities and outcomes for all students, ensuring they can reach their goals and experience success in welcoming, inclusive environments. So overview of special education programs and services. So our special education department continues to focus on the 5 key areas essential to supporting students with special education needs. So academic achievement and well-being, fostering independence, using individual education plans, IEPs as effective instructional tools, strengthening community partnerships, and supporting successful transitions into, through, and beyond school. So special education in the Simcoe County District School Board includes a spectrum of supports, so from small instructional adjustments or extended time to specialized equipment to dedicated learning environments for students with complex needs. Students may also receive support from CERTs and educational assistants to address academic, safety, medical, physical, or communication needs. So this year, we have just over 7,000 elementary students and 4,700 secondary students that receive special education supports, representing approximately 20% of all our students. So that's pretty consistent with previous years. And approximately just over 2,000 students, or 4%, receive most of their programming in designated special education classes. And just to do a breakdown, I know this is similar to a report before, but just identification and exceptionality trends. So the Ministry of Education recognizes 5 categories and 12 subcategories of exceptionality, ranging from behavioral to communication, intellectual, physical, and multiple exceptionalities. So in the 2024-2025 school year, 40% of students with an IEP, so that's approximately 4,722 students, also had a formal identification, placement, and review committee, or IPRC identification. So the most common exceptionalities identified, autism was 1,308 students, learning disability 1,178 students, giftedness 601, developmental disability 494, mild intellectual disability the same 494. Meanwhile, 60% of students with an IEP, representing 7,000 students, just over, received support without a formal IPRC designation. So at this time, I wanted to kind of pass it over to Samantha. Where's she on my screen? There she is. I see her. Just to kind of go through the presentation more so in terms of how our students did for the 2024-2025 school year. So Samantha, I'll pass it over to you at this time.
Am I able to share my screen to put the graphs up?
You should be, yes.
Okay, great.
If not, we'll fix that.
You should be ready.
Should be good. There we go. Okay, so I wanted to go over some of the achievement trends from last year, in particular talking about EQAO achievement trends. Looking at this screen here, we're looking at EQAO assessment results across 4 years between the 2021 school year, which is shown in green, and then the last school year, which is shown in this light blue color here. All of the graphs in this section are showing the percentage of students with special education needs, formally identified or not, who achieved each of these levels on their EQAO assessment. And it's important to note in this section that we haven't included students with a gifted identification. They've been removed from these results. And although the province has set the provincial standard as achieving a level 3 or 4, success for students with special education needs is unique and it's relative to their own ability. So as we go through these results, we can also celebrate the accomplishments of all students as they achieve their own goals. Okay, so whoopsie. On this slide, we are looking at EQAO results for primary students in literacy. There were about 600 students in grade 3 who completed an EQAO assessment last school year, In the top graph, we can see trends in reading for students with special education needs, and the results remained pretty consistent with the 2023-24 school year, with 41% of students achieving a level 3 or 4. There's also about 54% of students who were approaching provincial standard at a level 2. And below that, we have their writing achievement, which saw a decline over the 4 years, but again, there was a large portion of students who were approaching or meeting that provincial standard. On this slide, we're still looking at EQAO literacy trends, but this time it's for junior students. Last school year, there were approximately 950 grade 6 students with special education needs who completed an EQAO assessment. These results are worth highlighting and celebrating because we saw a big increase in achievement last year. The top graph showing reading results shows a 10% increase from 50% in 2023-24 to 60% last year, which is a 10%, a big jump between the 2 years. The graph below is showing writing results, and again, we see a 10% jump between the previous 2 school years. 57% of students achieved a level 3 or 4 last school year. And in both reading and writing, the majority of students achieved or were approaching that provincial standard. These graphs are looking at math achievement now, EQAO math achievement for elementary students. In the top graph, results for students in grade 3 are shown. For the past 3 years, the proportion of students who achieved a level 3 or 4 has remained consistent at 26%. And then below this, we're looking at math achievement for junior students. There was a 2% increase in the proportion of students who achieved a level 3 or 4, from 21% to 23%. And if we look across all 4 years of reporting, there's a 5% increase, which is great. A large portion of students achieved level 2, and not shown on the slide, but worth mentioning, I think, is that each year, less than 6% of students achieved less than a level 1 on their assessment. Ranges from about 3 to 6% each year. And if we were to look at secondary achievement, last year, about 650 students participated in the grade 9 math assessment, EQAO math assessment. The proportion of students who achieved a 3 or 4 was consistent with previous years at 28%. Most students achieved a level 2 on the math assessment, and I also want to point out that the proportion of students who achieved a level 1 has steadily decreased over the last 4 years. It's down 5% from 24 to just 19% last year. The graph below is slightly different. It's showing the percentage of students with special education needs who were successful on their grade 10 literacy test. Last year, there were 750 students who attempted the test for their first time, and of those, 64% were successful, meaning that they passed. And that is a big jump. It's about 13% improvement, which is great. And lastly, for tonight, I wanted to talk about graduation trends for students in special education. And again, this doesn't include students with a gifted exceptionality. They've been removed for this part of the analysis. In 2024-25, the 4-year graduation rate, which is in green on the slide, was 77%. And that means that 77% of students with special education needs graduated with a diploma within 4 years of starting secondary school. This is a 6% jump just between the previous 2 years of reporting, from 71 to 77%. And this is the highest 4-year graduation rate in this group of students to date. And below this, we have the 5-year graduation rate, which is similar. It's showing the percentage of students who graduate with an OSSD within 5 years of starting secondary school. And last year, the 5-year graduation rate stayed at 81%. In terms of number of students, not percentage of students graduating, but the number of students graduating, last year there were 814 students in special education who graduated from an SCDSB high school. And when you compare that to the number of students who graduated the year before, it's almost 100 more students than who graduated in 23-24. And like I mentioned, the graphs here are showing students who graduated with an OSSD. But I think it's important to remember that there is a small group of students in special education who are working towards another graduation goal. And so depending on a student's personal abilities or their own learning goals, they may be working towards an OSSC, which is an Ontario Secondary School Certificate, or a COA, which is a Certificate of Accomplishment, which are just a different set of graduation requirements. So last year, there were an additional 32 students in special education who graduated with one of those alternate diploma types. And that is the last slide for me. I hope I've highlighted some of the great things that we saw last year in achievement for this group of students. And with that, I don't know if Superintendent Jacobs wants to speak to the next steps in the report, or I'm happy to answer any questions related to the data I shared.
Yeah, no, this is great. Thank you so much. And yeah, with that, we can answer any questions that may have come from this data set.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you very much. Maybe if I could ask, sorry, I'm not sure who's sharing their screen. If I can just ask you, Samantha, perfect. Thank you so much. Now I can see everybody. Excellent. Okay. So I always go to my committee members to let them ask a question, but I'm going to ask a question first, just because I know it's one that we all want the answer to. And I may have already asked Manager Newton, and I may feel like I know that we will have the information to this question. So SEAC is always very, very interested in 7-year graduation rates, because we know a lot of our students will be with us until they're 21, and that is where their success lands, and we want to celebrate those as well. So I understand you may have those numbers for us.
Yes, I think I'll call on Manager Newton to answer that question.
Okay, thank you so much.
Hi, good evening. Can everyone hear me?
Yep.
Yep.
Oh, good. I'm actually on my phone, not on my laptop. I couldn't get onto the Zoom meeting, so the joys of virtual meetings. But yeah, I did want to talk about the 7-year grad rate tonight, just so we can all understand what's possible and what isn't possible when we're looking for students. So Samantha had presented the 5-year rate, and how we calculate that is we're able to calculate that rate because we have a student ID number. So even if they do not graduate in an SCDSB secondary school, but come back for a 6th year, we can still find that student in our enrollment data because we have a student ID number. If they go into adult and continuing education for, again, the SCDSB, what we do is we look for those students using an OEN number. So as long as they're staying in the SCDSB, we can pull together information on students that maybe don't graduate in 4 years by using their OEN. But as you're going through and looking for those students, each time you're looking, your count will get smaller and smaller. And it's not to say that students still aren't tracking towards achieving an OSSC, a COA, or an OSSD. It's just they have to be in our school board for us to be able to find them with an OEN. So that's why we've never calculated, I don't even know if we could call it a rate, but what we could do is we could find counts of students who were here in 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, and 7 years as they tracked in through adult and continuing education. The other thing I was thinking about is that we do also receive data that we call post-secondary data. And that data by that OEN number actually shows students that would be enrolled in college. And because there are quite a few college programs where even a student might go to college and they might concurrently maybe get the credits that they're missing to get that OSSD that they may not have accomplished at a school board, I'm thinking that that could also probably answer some of those questions from SEAC about where do the non-graduates go if they're not staying in a secondary school in SCDSB. So those are some things that we will probably run, and I can definitely share that information with Superintendent Greg Jacobs. I don't know if we could call it a rate, though. That's my only, because we can't make that fraction, right? We can't say this is a numerator divided by a denominator like we did in the report this evening. But we could definitely look at finding some counts for where they track each year, and depending on what diploma type that was. So I wanted to talk about that difference between student ID numbers and OENs.
Okay, thank you so much, Manager Newton. That makes a lot of sense, and I can understand and respect that it's you can't just kind of pull numbers out of anywhere, and that makes a lot more sense. But I do think what you're describing, SEAC would be very interested in hearing if you're able to get that together for us.
Yeah, and also just do I have to say through the chair?
Don't worry, we're pretty casual.
Oh my
around
gosh,
here.
I can't even. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I didn't say that. So I was also thinking about a meeting we had last week, actually, with members from Superintendent Jacobs' special education team at the Education Center, and it is a similar request that we have received from his team as well. So even as we're compiling that information and trying to think of unique ways by using that OEN, looking into post-secondary college pathways, even if they don't have an OSSD through the school board, I think that might also be helpful as well.
That sounds great. Because yeah, like you said, I think we just want to see where those remainder of students are. Are they staying with us? Are they moving along? And we just want to see where that the rest of the number ends up. So that sounds great. Sounds like you're on a great track. Kevin, did you have a question for Manager Newton?
Yes, I did. I understand that once they go into adult education, it changes. But students with an IEP can stay in our system till they're 21, and they're not adult students. Those ones should be able to be tracked the same way as the first two groups were, shouldn't they?
Manager Newton?
Yes, that's a good question. And it is true that you're correct. In our graduation data that we receive from the data warehouse, we do have diploma information for students up to the age of 21. And that's data that definitely we can explore, looking at that student ID number before they even go into adult and continuing education. And typically, we do present publicly when we share the graduation rates for the school boards. We do present different diploma types, but because we sort of follow the Ministry of Education's graduation calculation, we stick with students who are 17 years of age. But it is true. That's definitely something that we could put into the analysis to try to give a better picture of graduation for students with an IEP, is looking at that data up to the age of 21.
Right, because that's really key.
Yes.
Because adult education is a different issue.
Yes.
Good. Okay. Well, that sounds great. Thank you for that that information. I'm looking forward to seeing all of that. But I kind of stole the first question there. So does anybody else have any questions on the report that was shared, or to do with what we were talking about, or to do with anything to do with the report at all? That any questions he came up with there? I'm not seeing any now. I have a couple, so maybe I'll ask my questions, and feel free if anyone has any along the way. Just let me know, and I'll stop. I promise. Okay. So I wanted to ask a couple of things. So Superintendent Jacobs, I just wanted to be sure. So someone told me that the supports that are available during a QAO have changed recently. Is that true? So are students with an IEP, maybe that are used to writing in another room, are they able to do that for a QAO? Were they before? Are they now? Something like that?
Through the chair to the chair. Yes. No, though that's still available to students. I know that there's been a big movement to try and to do EQAO virtually, so on the computer. But if students still need to use paper related, we can accommodate that. It does require like scribes. It just depends on what their IEP and what accommodations modifications are in there. But quiet settings are still available, and unless Principal Maxwell or Principal Francis want to add to anything, but no, that's still in place. It's still part of the testing procedures.
Okay, thank you very much. I did have some feedback from a family that was the information that they had received. So I said I would follow up. Maybe there was some miscommunication there. So that's good to know. And then, so the other question that they had asked, I know at the SCDSB, we don't exempt a lot of people from writing Aqueo, which I think is great. But what is the threshold for us? Do we have some students that don't write at all? Is it like if they're 3 grade levels behind? Is there a threshold like that somewhere?
So our exemption rate is rather low. I believe it's less than 3%, and I'm just going off of memory, so I'm not sure if Manager Newton or Samantha have that information, but I'm pretty sure it's less than 3%. And that was a big push by previous superintendent of special education, Chris Samus, was really pushing where students could possibly write a portion of the EQAO test in reading, writing, or math. That teachers are supposed to use their professional discretion. Um, if students aren't, if it's alternative um, sections of their IEP where it's significant, like there's not really a threshold. It's where they use their professional judgment. But if they're not accessing the curriculum for reading, writing, and math, uh, and the teachers don't feel that there's any benefit to them writing, then we would exempt. But we are pushing wherever possible. Please have them engage in the testing process. But I can only recall, for instance, when I was last in a school, which is a couple of years ago, students that were nonverbal in, let's say, the AST class or well below, and would be a frustrating exercise for them. That's where it's so important that teachers know their students, that we wouldn't subject them to that test. But there were kids, I will verify, there were kids that were in those county classes that we would still, if we felt that they were capable of doing a portion of it, we did encourage them to do that in communication with families as well, right?
Okay, that is wonderful to hear. Thank you. And that is what I thought. Basically, if you had a grade 6 student that couldn't read the test, or they had some other, like you said, the comfort level of the student, if it was just going to be not productive for anyone, that a school could still make that decision then. Okay, thank you very much. I
Yes.
really appreciate the clarification on both of those. The other thing that really jumped out at me from that report is that ASD has surpassed learning disabilities. I don't know if that happened last year or if this is the first time that it surpassed it. I remember thinking that it was close last year, but I can't believe it's surpassed it. So I'm just really curious if we have any information or updates from the ministry or any feedback on that. Because obviously that is something that we've tied to supports that we need and funding that we need. And so I'm just wondering if the ministry has commented on or had any feedback on that. That's a huge increase. Learning disabilities have always been our top one. And now to have ASD surpass that means a lot for our board.
The Ministry of Education, the Barrie branch, is aware. I know in a presentation from our Coterminous board as well, they also identify the growth of ASD in Simcoe County, and we are experiencing the same trends. And I believe it was last year. It was I think it just surpassed last year. So.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much for that. Does anyone else have any questions or comments from the report? Okay, then I'm going to ask one more quick question. Sorry. The OSSLT, can they write that once a year, or can they write it more? Can they attempt it twice, or what's the limit on that?
I believe I might have to defer this one to Principal Maxwell. My understanding, it's once in. Well, I'll pass it over.
Yeah. And through the chair. So Aqueo they have 2 opportunities to write. So there is a fall writing session where all students are given that chance to participate in the test. And then if they're unsuccessful, there is usually a March to April window where they could write it again. And then the next year, if they were still unsuccessful, they could do that, or they could do the OLC, the Ontario Literacy course at that point to meet that requirement.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that information. Okay. All right. Not seeing any other questions then from that report. All right. Well, thank you very much. Oh, I'm sorry, Sarah, please go ahead.
That's okay. I just had somebody pulling the laneway at home, so I was giving my dog a minute to bark at them. Sorry about that, if you guys can still hear her. So I am relatively new to this table, so I apologize if I should have seen this information somewhere else. But I'm just curious around the frequency numbers. Do you guys ever do like a data comparison to population increases or student increases in the area? And kind of do that comparison across years?
Oops, sorry. Great question. Thank you. Would that be Samantha? Did you want to take that one or?
Sure, I can take that. So we do compare enrollment. I think we have currently over the past 15 years. This report that we shared tonight has also been shared on a yearly basis, usually around February. So these numbers are shared and can be tracked back a few years. We do look at it in terms of enrollment at the board overall. We also look at enrollment in special education in comparison to that overall board enrollment. And then we also look at students who are in a partially integrated classroom, those designated special education classes that Superintendent Jacobs mentioned. And we do compare the growth rates between those three groups. We also look at it by panel. It's something that's been shared, I believe, this year internally, but it is definitely something that we track.
Thank you very much for that, Samantha. Because I like, just as we were talking about it, like I would be curious if the rate of the autism diagnosis in comparison to the learning disabilities, if that rate was to stay the same over a correlation of a few years, or if we're like what that difference is truly connected to in a way.
Yeah, I did check. As we were speaking, I did check when that switch happened. So it was in the 2022-2023 school year that the proportion of students with autism, or the number of students with autism, was higher than the number of students with a learning disability. And prior to that, the learning disability exceptionality was the largest group of identified students.
Wonderful, thank you. And sorry, another question, if I may, through the chair. Does the Ministry of Education ever receive reports from the Ministry of Health in terms of frequency of certain diagnoses provided within a year? So we can understand it from a diagnostics lens for where we're maybe seeing an increase in something particular? Do you guys ever get a report like that?
I might jump in there. We report to the Ministry of Education in terms of population and identifications and so on, but I'm not sure how well that's communicated between ministries. That's something that we constantly are working on when we get together. So Principal Francis, Principal Maxwell, they get together with provincial principals of special education, and that's a question that I believe comes up. They'll be attending a conference later this month. I will also be attending one as superintendent of special education. We submit questions in advance of our participation, and that is one of the questions that we frequently ask. And it's not just between Ministry of Education and Ministry of Health. The Ministry of Children and Community Social Services is another key player in educating students in Simcoe County.
Thank you very much for that. Because from a early intervention lens or perspective, we're seeing more diagnoses occurring of autism when compared to others. So, whenever we look at the numbers and how it filters through to experience within the school board, I'm always curious around what are those trends and what are we seeing from a diagnostics, because that could also explain where some of those differences are. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. All right. Any other questions or comments? Kevin, go ahead.
I don't have the numbers in front of me. My computer's not working very well. But what percentage of students are actually identified? I think it's only about 60%, or is it less?
I can comment on that. So the number, or the proportion of students who are identified each year is pretty consistent, around 40%.
So 60% are not.
That's correct.
I know Autism Ontario advocates for identification. I have no idea whether the Learning Disability Society does. So that could be skewing your numbers. In that we say if you've got a diagnosis, get identified. The school board does not encourage identification. Right? So it's pretty hard to even make anything out of your numbers when less than half the people are actually identified. Just a comment.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. Okay, any other questions or comments on this report? Lots of great information in there. Okay, not seeing any at this time. Thank you so much, Samantha and Manager Newton, for joining us. We really appreciate your info and your great question answering.
Thank you, everyone, for your time.
Thank you.
Bye.
You're most welcome to join us, but we'll let you carry on with your evening.
Thank you. Take care.
Thanks, you too. Okay, I see Trustee Strawn was able to join us. Trustee Strawn, if you're there, I was just going to give you a second to introduce yourself. Hi. I was just going to give you a second to introduce yourself to the committee. Trustee Strawn is new to joining us on SEAC, so I was just going to give her a minute there.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Nice to be around the table. I've been following your committee for a number of years as a trustee, and actually, I one point in my life worked for Empower Simcoe, and so did some work in the space as a youth worker for that organization when it was called Simcoe Community Services. But happy to be here, and I apologize. I'm just going to have my camera on and off. I'm not at home today, and so I have other people just kind of milling about where I am. So to avoid distraction, I'll turn my camera on and off. But thank you, Chair Rafik, and it's really nice to join the committee.
Thank you for joining us. And Kevin, I have to tell you that Trustee Strawn quotes you at our board table quite often. She says, "Isn't it Member Barry who says special education for students is education for all students?" She quotes you on that one often. You said that and it stuck with her. All right. Okay. All right. So we will move along in our agenda. So that takes us to SEAC C2B, projected special education class changes relocation 2026-2027. And we have Superintendent Jacobs.
Okay, I will actually I guess I should share my screen. Sorry. Does everyone see that?
Oh, there we go. It's coming.
It's coming?
Yep.
Do you see
There we
it
go.
now?
Yep.
And then if I do, what do you see now? Do you see my notes?
Yes, I see highlighted things.
That part I don't want you to see. Now, do you see the report?
Yep.
All right. Okay. So tonight's update outlines the potential changes to special education program locations and program types for September 2026, as well as some language changes, which I think I've mentioned before. So across the Simcoe County District School Board, we offer a continuum of programs and services to support students with a wide range of learning needs. Our starting point for every student, regardless of exceptionality, is a regular class placement in their home school. So this reflects our belief in inclusion and ensures students remain connected to their peers and community. For the students who require additional support, targeted intervention, or specialized programming, special education class placements continue to be an important option within our continuum of services. So a key part of this process is the voice and choice of parents and guardians. Some families strongly prefer that their children remain in regular class settings, while others request specialized class options. Through the Identification, Placement, and Review Committee, IPRC process, we work closely with families to ensure that each student's needs are met effectively and that they have access to the supports required for success. So the first thing I want to draw the attention to, and if you can see it there, is just around some of the language changes that I think I've spoken to before, but I just kind of have it all in one spot in this report. Um, so social skills, elementary, we're trying to move away from the ableist language. And so county class E8, county class is identifying that is at a special education class. E standing for elementary, and 8, the number of students that, the maximum number of students that would be in this class. So that it's going to take me a while. I'm sure it's going to take everyone a while to adjust to this. County Class E25, excuse me, formerly gifted elementary. County Class E10, formerly developmental skills. County Class E6 or S6 would formerly be the autism spectrum disorder class. Again, the E for elementary and the S for secondary. County Class S10, formerly life skills secondary. County Class S10. So, and we put the T in there for transition site. So we have 2 of those. So we have a transition site at Bayview, which is attached to Innisdale, and then we have another one that's the Bradford transition site, which is attached to Bradford Secondary School. And then County Class S16, formerly Integrated Support Learning Center Program, ISP Secondary. And then we decided not to change the name of care and treatment education programs because those change quite often anyway. So they used to be called section classes, so section 19, 20, 21, then they went to ECPP. We've kind of landed on care and treatment education programs just last year, so we're just kind of getting used to it. So we decided not to change in that situation. So those are kind of the name changes, and it will take a little while to work through those. And I am trying to use the language, well, it's in the report, but also I'm kind of referring to the previous name for it because we are looking for a few changes for September 2026. So County Class S6, so formerly ASD for a second at secondary level. So we are going to be adding an ASD class to Twin Lake Secondary. So there are renovations that are going to be occurring over the summer, and I've been told that it will be open for September. And so at Twin Lakes, instead of 2 County Class S10s, we will have a County Class S10, so the former life skills. So we'll have 1 life skills there, and now an ASD class, and a properly, I guess, designed class specific to students with ASD. So that will be at Twin Lakes. The care and treatment, we are opening a new care and treatment education program at Eastview. So everyone's aware because we've communicated in this past that we did close a Royal Victoria Hospital program. So that ended as of January 30th. So that was attached to Eastview. We are replacing this program, and we have successfully negotiated this through with Mackenzie Health. We will be opening up a care and treatment education program specific, and I'm saying it to this group with Mackenzie Health, that'll be for FASD. So that will be the profile of the students that will be going to Eastview. The next care and treatment education program, this one is with Canark that was at Barrie North. We are going to be moving that to Eastview as well, and there's a few reasons why. Space availability is a big thing at Eastview, so we have space for this program. Plus the integrated support program at Eastview, we are closing that one as well. So we have space for opening a second CTEP program at Eastview. And then at the elementary level, we are opening a County Class E10, a second one, because we opened one last year at WR Best with former Principal of Special Education Linda Blom. We are putting a second County Class E10 at WR Best, and there will be a VP allocation to go with that. So that will be another developmental skills, formerly developmental skills, that will be going there. And then the last one that's indicated here is for our congregated classes, our gifted congregated classes. The Simcoe County District School Board will not be admitting grade 4 students to gifted congregated classes for the 2026-27 school year. Simcoe County District School Board will begin a phased approach on evaluating gifted programs for all students. So we're looking at building system capacity, especially around differentiation and universal design for learning. And we will still be providing enrichment opportunities for students that are identified as gifted. So we usually offer 6 of those enrichment programs through the course of the year, and we will be continuing that. And with that, we'll take any questions. I'll stop sharing first. One sec.
Thank you very much. I
There
see
we go.
Kristen, and you can go ahead.
Mostly just for my own learning, because I was in a meeting about ECPP classrooms today. Is this a universal thing, or is this just your board that has changed the name?
Whoops. Through the chair to Kristen. So there is a trend. So the ECPP, we technically don't have one of those. That's related just to the justice system. That's changed from where it was over a year ago.
Okay.
CTEP, Care and Treatment Education Programs, that's province-wide. So, and those are classes set up with a distinct partnership with a community partner. So usually funded through the Ministry of Children and Community Social Services. The name change to the county classes that we exclusively own or have, that is a trend that's in that's occurring in the province, where they're trying to move away from labeled classrooms. And so that is a growing trend. But the CTEP one is collaborative programs.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate that. I mean, people still call them Section 23. So I was just trying to figure out whether this is it wasn't a Simcoe conversation that I was having, but so just trying to learn how the system is working. So I appreciate your help.
Thank you, Kristen. I still call it Section 23. It's very hard to keep all the changes straight. Kevin, question? Oh, you're muted, Kevin.
It's a very small screen. I can't tell what it's saying. I understand that we want to get away from ableist language, but you also want a certain amount of clarity in what's being said. Now, I've never liked the social skills label. I thought that was very ableist. But an ASD class, the requirement to get into it is having a diagnosis of ASD. And I don't think being autistic or using the term autistic or autism is ableist. It's simply who the students are. It feels sort of demeaning to me to say that saying someone has autism is ableist. That's also just confusing. With a bunch of numbers and letters, it's hard enough trying to explain to a parent what the options are when they've got to remember titles that don't make any sense to them.
Oh, you're
No,
muted.
I'm muted. Yes. Principal Francis, please go ahead.
Thank you. Through you, Chair, to the committee. I absolutely understand that concern, Kevin. And I would only say that the flip side of that is often we have either schools or families who consider that if their child has a diagnosis of autism, this is the only correct placement for them. When we have, I believe, 85 or 86% of our students with autism who are served very well in a regular classroom. So there's confusion, I think, can happen on several places. Also in some of our other county classes, which might be what we would term county class 10s moving forward, we would have a number of students in those classes who also have a diagnosis of autism. So I think it comes down to, what is the purpose of the classroom? What are the needs of those students? And what we hope is that there are conversations around those individual needs. Do I expect that, the students in those, county class 6 will still be primarily students with autism who require that highest level of support? Likely that is the case. But we want to look at ensuring that that it's clear for everybody that students with autism, that's not the only pathway, and sometimes we do see that as well.
Go ahead, Kevin.
Except for the 6th class, we all have autism because the law states that's what they need to be in there, unless you plan on getting rid of ASD classes.
That is not our, so
Go ahead, Greg.
through the chair to Kevin, that is not our plan.
Right. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, any other questions? So do you have a question, Kevin? Go ahead.
Yes. This is in regards to the gifted program.
That's what I was going to talk about.
I mean, Greg, we talked about this earlier on, and I am in agreement that the program has to be sort of reorganized. My real concern is that we don't just get rid of the congregated classes, that we have to have something to replace what they are supposed to be providing. And I don't want to get into the details right now, but I think it would help if you present at some point what the plan for the replacement is to us, right? So we can comment on, are we really filling the needs that these students have, right? Because right now you're taking it away, and it's going to cause a lot of panic in some of the community. Like, I want to be able to say, well, this is what we're replacing it with.
Superintendent Jacobs?
Through the chair to Kevin. So again, it's a phased approach. We're looking at just grade 4 for right now. Remember, we have over 600 students identified as gifted, but only a third of them actually choose to go to a congregated gifted class. What I'm looking at, and again, we're only starting with grade 4, but we still have grades 5 through 8. We're still allowing students to enter from grades 5 through 8, but building system capacity around differentiation. And that's something I've been working with the other departments, especially student achievement, around building differentiation and universal design for learning into student achievement. And we are still going to offer those opportunities at the board level for enrichment activities. So.
Okay, thank you very much. Catherine, I see your hand. Please go ahead.
Thank you. It sounds like there are going to be a lot of changes, like back and forth classes closing, opening up. I wondered what this upcoming school year, would there be an increase overall in number of like placements for students in special education classrooms, or is that number staying the same?
Superintendent Jacobs, go ahead.
Through the chair to Catherine, thank you for the question. We are always looking at increasing spots for students. Any new build, so not this year, although there are renovations taking place at Twin Lakes and WR Best and so on to increase these specialized classrooms, to increase enrollment. The September 2027, we're going to be opening 5 new schools, and each new build will have a county class, a learning center, and in addition to that, a county class designed for ASD, so that we can increase the number of spots for students, because there are a lot of students that we are trying to meet their needs in non-county class placements. And so the need is there. And so that's why we're trying to adjust to that need.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, any other questions? Okay, I was gonna say kind of the same thing as Kevin was saying about the gifted. I feel like it's a change that the conversation is probably going to continue. And we'll probably get lots of questions along the way. So it'll just be a continuing conversation as this change happens, I'm sure. Okay, Andrea, go ahead.
sorry, so much going on. I had workmen run into my office here and scare the Jesus out of me. I was here by myself, and so I'm a bit flustered. I apologize. I have a question. When will these classroom title changes be shared with families and incoming students? And I apologize if that question was already asked. The reason that I'm asking is, as someone who supports families and folks, going into some of these classrooms, should I be using this language now, or are we waiting until a certain time when we're starting to use this language?
Great question, Superintendent Jacobs.
Through the chair to Andrea, thanks for the question. You are the kickoff. You're the official kickoff to, there has been some discussion behind the scenes, but publicly, this is the kickoff. I have to set up meetings with principals as well to kind of discuss these name changes to get familiar with that. But this is where it's starting, is tonight.
So I shouldn't stick it on my wall right now and start referencing it. Yeah,
Well,
wait.
it is public. This meeting is public.
Okay.
It's recorded.
I guess you're right. Yeah.
This document is, you have it, so it is now public.
So we all better do our homework and start memorizing. Thank you. Okay. All right. Not seeing any more questions for that report. No. Okay. All right. So then that takes us on to SEAC C2C, special education staffing. Once again with Superintendent Jacobs.
This is a busy one. I know this is the first for some, but this is one of our busier ones. So each year, as part of the special education plan and the board's budget consultation process, SEAC receives an overview of special education staffing. These staffing allocations are submitted annually to the Ministry of Education by July 31st. It's important to note that staffing numbers may shift through the year due to changes in enrollment and additional in-year or temporary funding sources such as transfer payment agreements or deferred revenue that becomes available after July 31st. Special education funding is used almost entirely to hire specialized and trained staff who support students with diverse learning needs. As a consultative body, SEAC plays a vital role in advising how these resources can be used most effectively to ensure positive outcomes for students. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the next one and share my screen again. So this is the report and the numbers. Can you see that? Thumbs up, anyone? Can you see it? It's come through? Yeah?
Sorry. Yes, we can see it, Greg.
Okay. So just so you know, this kind of is something that we also publish. We talk about it first with SEAC. This also is part of our special education plan. So it shows over the years the changes in special education staff. It has been status quo for a number of years. The fluctuations, you'll notice there's some fluctuations around special education resource teachers and educational assistants. Those have been the greatest kind of fluctuations up and down, and that's dependent on funding. So this is kind of the core funding, the staffing, but there's also SSF funding. There used to be Jordan's principal funding that was embedded in this. The one thing, going back to Catherine's earlier question, is by increasing special education classes, you'll see there has been an increase in special education class teachers. So in 2021 from 98 up to 120 for the 2025-2026 school year. So these are the numbers, and again, they've been relatively status quo over the last couple of years. I think 2021, since 2021, 2022, we have increased by about approximately 7,000 students over that time. But this is central staffing, not in schools, by the way. CERTs and EAs are in schools, but a lot of the central staffing has remained status quo. But it's the educational assistant ones that's fluctuated a bit. And I guess with that, I'll take any questions regarding the staffing page. And again, this is foundational in our special education plan, which will be going out shortly if it hasn't already, and Lori can correct me in that case. so that we can start working on publishing it for this year. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions from the group? Catherine, go ahead.
I'm just curious, what caused the number of social workers to go down? I noticed it went from 1 to 0.
Superintendent Jacobs?
Through the chair to Catherine. So there has been an investment into the mental health and well-being department. So the social workers kind of moved. They used to have one that was specific to special ed. The focus is on our mental health and well-being department, and I'd have to double check, but I believe we're around 18 or 19 social workers. And there's also CYW. So there has been a push for mental health and well-being in the board.
Okay, thank you.
Good catch. I didn't see that because, yes, I think our numbers have increased for social workers. Definitely, they keep going up all the time. And then I just have to say, I don't know how I didn't catch it before, but we do not have hearing interpreters. We've cleaned up that language everywhere else, but it's still on here. There's no such thing as a hearing interpreter. It's right under or right above deafblind interveners.
I through the chair, I do see that, and to the chair, yes, you've brought that to my attention. Thank you for that catch.
Yes.
We have so many, yeah.
I know, so many terms, but American Sign Language English interpreters is what we have.
Okay, we'll get that right. And there's so many versions of it coming from different people that I apologize.
But definitely not hearing. That's not a hearing interpreter. Okay, thank you. All right, so no other questions from that report? Nope, not seeing. Oh no, Andrea. Sorry, yes, go ahead.
That's all right. So I'm just curious, so there's a drop in educational assistants and we're sort of diversifying with the titles and taking off sort of specific titles for our county classrooms. And then I see that the behavior support worker number is going down as well, which when I think about sort of the way those classrooms, some of those complex classrooms are supported, they're really some of the most intense boots on the ground. Are we then going to sort of diversify the supports that some of these board level staff can provide? So for instance, will the behavior support workers and the behavior coaches be able to sort of do similar work in some of these classrooms now that they won't have such a specific title?
Superintendent Jacobs?
Through the chair to Andrea. So yes, we did reduce some of the behavior support workers. Part of that was to get some educational assistants permanently out into some of our schools because the need wasn't going away. We do use transitional EAs to temporarily support schools as a student transitions into a school, but it's not considered to be permanent. One of the things that we have been working on, and I do thank chair and co-chair for the letters. The funding that's coming isn't increasing at the same pace as the needs are increasing. So that's one of the reasons why we're being creative with how we meet the most significant need. And so that is one of the pressures that we're trying to work with. And so if we need to put more supports into schools, we try to do that where we can. And another big focus, especially going into this year, is building system level capacity. So we will be trying to we will be rolling out more professional development because we do have a lot of newer teachers taking on the CERT role. Something else that we want to do is try to retain the experienced special education resource teachers that are in our schools because as Brandy and Kevin can tell you, the turnover is about a third every year. And that's expertise and knowledge that we want to keep and retain wherever possible. So that's why we have those little adjustments. So that was one of the adjustments for the behavior support workers, is to get some permanent supports into schools.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments on the report? Okay, not seeing any at this time. Oh, sorry, Kevin, go ahead.
I've said this many times in the past. With the financial crunch and the political crunch that's coming, I mean, we have to worry about the board being taken over if we don't watch our pennies, so to speak. But this board has always been rather dogmatic about what can and cannot be spent on special education. And I really think there needs to be a discussion about that, about the limits of the general funding that actually makes it into special education. Because, as I've said, special education is simply education, right? If a kid is disruptive and destroying and stopping a whole class, that's affecting every student, right? If your vice principal is acting as an EA, that affects everybody, right? On a system-wide level, we have to rethink what special education is and how we're going to fund it within our board. So it doesn't become a burden. So we're not cutting programs because we can't afford them, right? We have to start getting a little more creative and thinking outside the box. We cannot make the government give us more money, but we can decide how we allocate the money that we have, right? We cannot spend special education dollars outside of the envelope, but you can add other dollars into the envelope. And we really have to, I think we really have to take a long, hard look at what it's costing us not to do that. That's my rant story.
I think it's a rant felt by many around this table. Don't worry, Kevin. Superintendent Jacobs, you had a response?
Yeah, through the chair to Kevin. So I want you to know that the commitment is there. Our Director Stevens, it is part of her director's performance appraisal. Special education is part of that performance appraisal. She has been very clear. I do meet with Director Stevens, Superintendent Van Nispen, and Associate Director Mulpey on a weekly basis, speaking about special education every week. So we had that meeting today, and it is a priority. I want to assure you of that. And we are looking at ways to meet the needs of students specific to special education. So it is a commitment 2026, 2027, and I've heard it more than once. And I think Trustee Rafiq or Chair Rafiq can speak to is it's been identified as kind of the year of special ed. So any and all ideas are well received, and we'll see what we can do with the resources, both within the envelope and outside of the envelope, to try and best meet those needs. So, but we do have the commitment of our director.
Yes, and I would echo that. That is definitely a commitment from our board for sure. Sarah, question, go ahead.
We've talked about where some of those decreases are in staffing, and we can see those, but I'm also noticing an increase in speech pathologists. So I was just curious, Greg, the rationale behind that and what additional services or supports we can anticipate seeing with that additional staff.
So, sorry, through the chair to Sarah, thank you for the question. I also meet on a weekly basis and talk special education with Principal Francis, Principal Maxwell, and our lead psychologist, Davis, Bronwyn Davis. And more of the clinical staff falls under her portfolio. And we look at changes in population coming in. So we also have monthly meetings with specific departments, so be it vision, hearing, speech and language, and so on. And where the need seems to hit this threshold of growth, we try to redirect support. So speech and language was one area. Vision was another area. So people may not be aware, and it's in here. We did add a vision resource teacher with orientation and mobility specialists. So those, I used to be a vision resource teacher when I was in New York Region District School Board. Orientation mobility, separate program. You have to do a master's to get it. So we were able to acquire another individual. into our board that has that qualification. And the other one that Chair Rafik, trustee, has also identified, we did temporary funding because of for hearing. So we have an additional hearing itinerant teacher that we added this year, which I'm looking at making permanent, hopefully for September with adjustments to the funding. But we try to respond when we see the numbers kind of getting to a critical level where the feedback that we're receiving is that we don't have space on our caseload for those students. And once it hits that point, we see what we can do to redirect resources to kind of meet that need. So that was a need that was identified.
Okay, thank you very much. Trustee Strawn, go ahead.
Thanks, Chair Rafik, and through you, I guess, to Superintendent Jacobs. Can you tell me just a little bit about the positions of the certified network technician and certified software technician? I'm just not familiar with those.
Yes, and through the chair to Trustee Strachan, I may also ask either Principal Francis or Principal Maxwell to jump in or add to my response. But so a certified network technician is kind of working on the hardware. So there is a lot of the growth in technology, especially around artificial intelligence and specialized equipment that comes in. We do have SEA funding to buy this equipment. So we would get a certified network technician to kind of help us set up the equipment. And then the computer software technician helps to teach. So they really try to stay on top of how to teach it to staff on how to use this equipment and the software with staff. So there's a process. And so we do have some senior clerks that kind of do the purchasing and ordering of the equipment. Once it comes in, the CNTs kind of set it up to make sure that it's set up to our system in the school board. And then we have software technicians that actually go out into the schools and work with teachers and work with students on how to actually use it effectively. Because it should be continuously used throughout the course of the year and the students' time in school, especially when it comes to like EQAO that we were talking about earlier. It's not effective if we're only teaching it for, that test, that month or so. So that's kind of how those roles are differentiated. I'm not sure if I missed anything there, but I'm sure they'll jump in if they need to.
And if I could follow up, Chair Rafik, that's very helpful. Thank you. And then because they are SEA funded, does that mean the position is totally funded through a special pot from the ministry?
So through the chair to Trustee Strawn. So this is where, again, I might have to get some assistance. So the SEA funding is mainly for the equipment. The CNTs and the CSTs, I believe, mainly comes from our board special education allocation. So the funding we get for SEA specific is for buying the equipment and buying the software applications that students need to be successful in school.
And I have one more question, which I don't know if anybody knows the answer to this or not. And if you don't know it now, that's totally fine. Just let me know later. But do other departments or like funding envelopes have to pay for their own IT positions? Like, so we have special education paying for IT positions, but like, does facilities pay for IT for like the IT support that they get, or like, I don't know, finance, or like just pick a department. Does this also apply to them?
So I'll take that one on through the chair to Trustee Strong. So this was a discussion that we had today, actually, at our central SOs with just in terms of funding. So the envelope, so we're try to keep the funding within the envelope. We don't want leakages to our envelope. If what Kevin was saying earlier, we want more funding to come into special education. But so we do fund certain positions specific to spec ed that is in IT. But for instance, business and facilities also funds quite a few of the IT positions. The growth in artificial intelligence and growing concern also is around cybersecurity. So that's something else that we're spending a fair bit of money, but that is funded through IT, but it's also funded through business and facilities as well.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. All right, any other questions or comments before we move on? I'm going to wait this time because every time I start to move on, then I see a hand. See? Trustee Strong, go ahead.
Sorry, just one other question. So hearing what Kevin is saying and understanding that many around the table have similar thoughts and concerns, how does SEAC then affect a change? Like, what can we do from this committee if we're saying that we think that going from 818 EAs to 783, when we have other reports telling us that we're not seeing a decrease in the amount of students that are requiring special education supports, like how do we send that back to, say, the staff team to review or reanalyze? Like, what's the process there?
Sorry, go ahead.
So through the chair to Trustee Strong, by meeting like we are right now, this is recorded. I know that the director and associate director, they do watch this. I also provide feedback to them. Any concerns we discuss and kind of debrief. I know, for instance, SEAC wrote some letters. I know it doesn't guarantee funding, but we need to send messages that we need support, not only just to the school board, but also to our partners that we're trying to create programs with. So like another letter. So we sent a letter to the Ministry of Education, but another letter was also sent to the Ministry of Children and Community Social Services to also increase their level of funding. So again, by meeting like this right now, this is kind of the first step, and then of course when we meet the next time too, there's further discussion. And again, I have those discussions with the director, associate director, Superintendent Van Nispen, responsible for business and facilities on a weekly basis. So I will be meeting with them, for instance, about this meeting. They can watch it themselves. Otherwise, I do make sure that they're aware of what was discussed. And the reports, just so you know, the reports that I share through SEAC, I do share with the central with the senior team as well. So they're aware of these changes and so on.
Thank you very much. Go ahead, Trustee Strong.
Just to follow up on that, I guess more of a comment, less of a question, but I mean, I couldn't agree more with Kevin's comments in regards to the fact that we need proper funding for special education resources, because we have to provide excellent education for all of our students across the board. And I mean, I just completely agree with the sense that when we have, like, what could our principals and vice principals be doing instead of not only just acting as EAs, but also like fielding parent calls and concerns from children who have both special education needs and children who don't. All of those parents are in the principal's office. They're talking to administration, or they're talking to the teachers about how are we going to solve these problems? What can we do? And like, imagine that we just were better able to resource our classrooms and to be flexible with that so that we could apply those resources to where they're most needed at the time. And I know that we probably have constraints like around contracts and things like that, but like if we could be flexible and have strategies which will involve key personnel, but to free up time and space for learning for everyone. And not only that, like just to make classrooms a more welcoming and inviting place for all of our students. And I think that's one of our priorities that we have as a board in terms of our strategic priorities. So like if there's a way in which we can like back through you, Chair Feek, back to Superintendent Jacobs to review this again with senior leadership team and the director and associate director, and just I know it's a priority. I know everybody's trying their best, but like maybe we can just try again, try some other creative avenues. And if there's need for trustee support to advance something to bring it to the table, because I know that we have a group of trustees that's very open to wanting to work with the staff team to try to solve some of these issues. Like I said, just to create better learning environments for all of our students.
Go ahead, Superintendent Jacobs.
Through the chair to Trustee Strawn. Any and all ideas. The one thing I've kind of realized through my career so far is I don't know all the answers, right? And that's where pulling minds together, ideas together, thinking outside of the box, like Kevin mentioned earlier as well, is so important. We, again, 2026, 27, I'm saying it again here, special ed, we're looking at building system-wide capacity, any new hires to vice principal or principal positions. There is an onboarding. Special ed is always on that. We are mapping out when school leaders meetings are taking place for next year, making sure that special education is a priority. So yes, there will be literacy, numeracy, special education. This commitment was already committed to. Special education will be on every school leaders meeting for principals and vice principals. Tomorrow actually is a schools leaders meeting for principals in the system. Principal Francis, Principal Max will be presenting special education tomorrow. Something Kevin will be like is around IEPs and building the capacity for our principals and vice principals to know what an effective IEP is. That's something that has been identified as a focus, not only through SEAC, but we've identified it as well. But I know Kevin's brought that to our attention before, and it's something we have to build capacity on. We have had a fair number of turnover in terms of our administrators. So again, I think they're coming from different parts of the board or they're new to the role. We're also looking at, again, this is discussed at the senior team as well. So superintendents of education in their areas, we want to get special ed to their agendas as well, so that we're constantly talking. But building capacity at the system level is going to be our goal. But yes, any suggestions you have, those conversations will be had about what we can do to meet student needs. Because I think someone mentioned it earlier, it might have been Trustee Strong. There's just by not meeting needs, what are the costs associated with by not meeting the needs of students with special education needs, right? So that's something that we have to consider as well. So, but we want to be proactive and get those supports in place where we can. The central team is going to be key, I think, next year as well. They're highly responsive, but you'll notice through the staffing chart that, the number of special education needs has grown beyond what the growth of the central team has been. So there's been little tweaks here and there, but I think we need a few little tweaks so that we can get more professional development at the beginning of the school year, just the ways things are being set up. With the PA days and so on through the course of the year. But another key thing is job embedded PD, by getting central staff with the skills and knowledge to get into schools to better support schools, CERTs, EAs, and better meeting the needs at the school level too. And I know Kevin is highly involved. I know others in the other organizations too sit in on meetings as well with families and navigating special education in our board. So those are all key things. So, but yeah, any suggestions, we'll receive them.
I bet you Kevin's got a suggestion for you. Go ahead, Kevin.
I agree agree building capacity is the key. But building capacity is kind of like playing whack-a-mole, right? You concentrate on one thing and then everything else falls behind. What I would like to hear is what the priorities are. What are we going for first? Right? Because then maybe we can give feedback saying, well, maybe your priorities are wrong from our experience. So what is it? You can't build capacity all at once. You have to concentrate on things. What's our biggest need? What capacity has to be built? And then how do you maintain it? Right? But you have to get a priority. And then that's when I don't see what the priority is. Capacity is too big a word for my brain to wrap around. So I'm not asking tonight, but it's one of the things I think would be a good exercise for administration, and it'd be great for us to list your priorities in order. And then you can work on a plan on how to deal with them. Right? But because right now there just seems to be too many of them and there's no money increasing coming in to get it all done. So I think somebody's think to hear that. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Sarah, go ahead.
Thank you. To kind of tie into what Kevin was sharing there too, and again, I know that this won't be a decision for this evening or something that we can really narrow down, but I wonder if there's value in all of us taking some time to reflect on and think about that concept of education for all. So like it's very common to hear, and it's even come up this evening, discussion around special education on one hand, and then discussion around mental health and well-being on the other hand. But whenever you get to the grit of the work that happens on the front line, something as simple as, verbal and visual cues for transitional warnings to get like really to the grit of it, that's going to benefit both hands. And it's going to benefit so many other children in that classroom for so many different reasons. And we see with like contracted services, other things coming into the education system, it's consultative. We're talking about a lot about universal strategies. And I wonder if we're at that time of a paradigm shift where it's not necessarily special education and all these other things chunked in different spaces and places. I wonder if it's shifting our thinking to what are going to be strategies and pieces that we can use in the classroom from a universal approach. Because what that does is that ties into that thinking around building capacity. We're not building capacity about these individual chunks. We're building capacity of universal strategies and an understanding of some of these things that we can use in our learning spaces that are going to benefit so many individuals facing so many unique needs within a class, or things that they're desiring in the class, or spaces to help them feel like they belong. How can we instill that within the board and the education system as a whole? And, the more that I'm being informed of and learning even more about and experiencing, just because of the world that I'm in early intervention, like we're working with children in the systems before they come to school, seeing how those systems are connecting and seeing how everybody is getting some of those restrictions in terms of funding, we're having to think more creatively. And I wonder if it's that creative thinking paired with a paradigm shift more towards that universal approach that's going to help these multiple bubbles, if you will, or categories that we're talking about, and really bridging it into one. Just to share my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Lots of great discussion tonight. I just wanted to kind of add there, when I see the number of EAs going down, it's something that grabs your attention right away, right? I used to always say that the most calls I got as a trustee were about transportation, and now I would say probably it's more about EAs and about parents wanting more EA support for their students. But one thing that did come to mind too is, I'm not even sure where this conversation came from. Maybe Superintendent Jacobs or someone might be able to remind me, but I do remember having a conversation about what is it that people want from that EA? And when we broke that down, maybe it was you, Principal Francis, that what they want from an EA is really more of what they should be getting from a teacher and what they want from their teacher, right? And so, I mean, I look at the number going down and that scares me right away because I think that we need more. But I really do appreciate the discussion of, okay, well, maybe we need more of this and more of this and that, and we're moving things around. And I think that, you know, combined with the overall capacity increasing we're talking about and what Principal Francis spoke about of what do people actually want from an EA, they want support for their students, right? And that what they picture is a support as an EA, but that is not necessarily always what that support would look like or be the best avenue for them. But it is something that we definitely need to focus on because, I mean, we've all said it here many times tonight that when classrooms are disrupted, it disrupts the whole entire class. No one's learning, and so we need to be supporting our most vulnerable students to be supporting all of our students. So I really, really appreciate the discussion around the table tonight. Does anyone have anything else to add before we move on? Okay, not seeing anyone. Okay, so we will move on from that discussion for now, but I think we've all stated, and including Superintendent Jacobs very distinctly, that it will be a continued conversation for sure. Okay. All right, so moving back to our agenda, that takes us to committee reports, which we have none. So then we have SEAC member updates. So while we do have one brand new member tonight, I will remind everyone we have lots of new members from the last few months. We seem to have been gaining a new member every month. So I'll just I'll talk a little bit more about this section. So this section is for members to just kind of give whatever update you would like. Maybe you have an update from your association on events coming up or just anything that you feel from your association that you would like to share with us. So does anyone have anything they'd like to share at this time? I would like to share that my 18-year-old is being very noisy behind me and he's not supposed to. Andrea, go ahead.
Thanks. I own one of those as well, and they don't do quiet very well. So I can fully appreciate that. It's a learned skill, and I'm not sure any of us have really ever perfected it, have we? So Catalpa, what I would like to flag is SIB shops, and I don't know if anyone else is going to flag them. We have two upcoming, one in February and then another one quite a bit down the road in June. The one in February is one I'd like to really flag. So SIB shops are specifically for siblings of individuals who have typically a diagnosis of ASD, but in this particular case, it's anyone with a disability or developmental need. So this is a painting, pizza, and peers party. So in difference to what I think has been done historically with the SIB shops, where it's a time to come together and have some discussion, this is an evening event from 5:30 until 7:30. I have a little list of things to send over to Lori to share, so you don't need to write this all down. Here at the Common Roof for 9 to 14-year-olds, and there'll be food and painting, and it's free. And I think it sounds like a really fun time for kiddos who have siblings and maybe don't get a night just to go out and have a good time themselves. And then the other one coming up is at Regent Park, but that's in June, and that's a half-day event on Friday, June 5th from 9 a.m. until 12. So keep your eyes open. I'm sending out a few other things that Catalpa has going on around resource days, and then some Ontario Autism Program webinars that people can access. So I'll share that with Lori to go out.
Great. Thanks so much, Andrea. And yes, I should have added that part. Anything that you do have to share that you would like to, please send along to our executive assistant, Lori Wright, and she will send that out to the rest of the group, and it will be in our minutes, and just another way to get things out there to make sure we're advertising all these great events. Does anyone have anything else to share? No. Oh, Shira, go ahead.
Hi again. Sorry, I don't know if this is like appropriate to share, but I've been advocating for the Learning Disability Association of York Simcoe to bring more programs to Simcoe County. So they do have a March break camp, and that is coming to Innisfil. There's subsidy available, and they're also hiring. I just got the email today, so I'm looking at my notes. They're also hiring facilitators. So that would be wonderful. We are also trying to get SOAR, SOAR. It's their program. It's like a transition program, mostly for grade 7 and 8. So if there's schools, if anyone knows like schools that are willing to host that or find out more information, we can send that along as well. They have tons of wonderful programs happening in York Region with their schools. So I really am trying to bring more to Simcoe County. Thanks.
That's great, Shira. Thank you so much for sharing. I was the LDAO rep before before I was a trustee, and there were no programs up here then. So I'm starting to see some kind of trickle up here, and it's really great to see. So I love to hear that you're advocating for that. I try to share every single one that I see is in Simcoe County. I try to share that around everywhere I can. So that's great. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, I wanted to note too, I just found this out recently when I started volunteering with them. They support a lot of ADHD as well. So even though it's technically not considered an LD, they do recognize that it impacts learning. So I just wanted to add that. So if you don't have an LD diagnosis, but there's an ADHD diagnosis, you can also access programs.
Excellent. That's great information. Thank you. All right. Anyone else have anything coming up? Okay, not seeing any at this time. All right. Thank you very much, everyone. Okay, so board meeting updates. So I just had a couple of things I jotted down that I wanted to share happening at the board. So we did receive the 2024-25 census, I believe. Yes, that's right year. Sorry. We are starting to receive the census data, which is really exciting for us at the trustee table because, there's a lot of interesting things that come from that data. So we just received some very, very basic information at our board meeting the other night, and it was just an overall kind of look at our board. So there was a 47% overall participation rate, which always sounds like not a great participation rate, but in the world of surveys, we are assured over and over again that it is actually a very good participation rate, and we're always trying to increase that. I was really excited to see that we were getting some identification information in that we were able to see that our board contains 6% of Indigenous people, 6% that would be listed as Black, 8% that would be under South Asian, and 77% under the white category. So just having those numbers is a really great start to different data that we can start to pull from that and apply to. I was really happy to see those. I was also really interested to see that there are 129 languages spoke at home within the SCDSB, and 21% of our students speak more than one language at home. So like I said, there's really interesting data that's going to come from all of those numbers, and I'm excited to learn more of that. Trustees also received the 2024-2025 operational plan update. If you like to read education data, let me tell you that report was really amazing. If you're an education nerd like I am, it was really, really great to see it's in our board reports from our last meeting. And there was so much great information, lots of really great links and videos, and it takes you to reports of what was done, just everything that was done within our board last year. And there's so much happening. It's really incredible to kind of look at it all just in those charts. And so I would encourage you, if you're looking for anything that we were doing, everything would be listed there for sure. All right. I think that was all I had down for that one. Okay. All right. So then that takes us to our golden buzzer, which is always everyone's favorite part. And we have Principal Francis this evening.
Thank you very much. Through you to the committee chair. Always exciting to share, positive updates. And I feel like there's been very many of them tonight. This one is related to our care and treatment education, our CTEP programs. We have a student who has started in one of these programs recently. Before starting this program, she was experiencing multiple suspensions. Family was very frustrated. The student was frustrated. And looked at this being a really good fit for this particular student with our elementary Mackenzie Health class. The feedback 1 month into this program was really quite wonderful. She expressed that I'm excited to go to school every day. They understand what I need. And for the first time, I feel like I belong. So that was just a beautiful sentiment about what it felt like to get to a classroom where she felt her needs were all met, and that treatment element that was available to her in the classroom and to the family with that wraparound support was really, really wonderful. So yes, there are still challenges, but this student is experiencing success and growth. And so we see that the value that these programs have. And I think that relates earlier to what Superintendent Jacobs was sharing, that, this is now a program that we will be able to offer in a secondary school for the first time next year. So that's very exciting. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Principal Francis. Okay, so next up on our agenda is correspondence, which we have none this evening. So for other matters, I believe, Lori, you had something you wanted to share with us.
Yes, I would just like to invite all the members, the agencies, to put together a 5 to 10 minute presentation, if they choose to, for our April agenda, and share just what their agency offers, what they promote, what they help students with. I know that we have them here every month, but maybe just a little reminder of what their agency offers, and if they choose to share what is up and coming for their support for the Simcoe County District School Board.
Great, thanks, Lori. Greg, go ahead. Go ahead, Greg.
Sorry, I was trying to click. Yeah, and just to add what Lori had, and any handout or brochure too would be beneficial. Just because of the conversations that we're having with the parents and so on about what resources are in the community, that would also be beneficial. So we have the most up-to-date kind of information that you want us to distribute would be great. Thank you.
Okay, Lori, would you be able to put kind of exactly what you want from everyone in a brief email?
For sure. And yes, if they wish to have a 10-minute slot on our next for April agenda, they can email me and let me know, and I'll facilitate that. But I will include an email in our minutes going out, and if people choose to respond to that, that would be great.
Excellent. Okay, we'll watch for that. Thank you very much. All right, does anyone else have anything for other matters? So again, for our newer members, other matters is basically just if you have anything else that you are wondering, any questions that you have, or any topics that you wanted to bring up that just didn't appropriately fit along the way, now would be the time. So if, like I said, if you ever have any questions that kind of don't fit on the agenda, there's always an opportunity for that discussion as well. So does anyone have anything pressing this evening? Not seeing any. Oh, I see Kevin moving towards his mute button. Nope. Okay.
I had one thing, Chair.
Sorry. Yeah, go ahead, Lynn.
Just a brief update for the committee. The reason I was late for this committee is because I'm also on the audit committee, and I was at that meeting. And we did get a report at audit committee that the special education audit that's happening internally is tracking and on progress, and the report should be coming, I think they said by the end of 2026 or at least early 2027. So that's a lot of work that the internal audit committee is doing, and I'm sure that they will share their report with us as well as the audit committee when it's complete.
Great. Thank you, Trustee Storm, for that update. Excellent. Okay. Not seeing anything else from anyone. No? Okay. Okay, so any notice of motion for next meeting? Not seeing any. Okay, so then I would be looking for a motion to adjourn. Do I have a mover for that? Kevin, seconded by Kristen, thank you very much. All those in favor? And that carries. We are adjourned. So our next meeting will be on Monday, March the 26th, and we'll be here online. Hopefully we will not be in such a deep freeze by then. We'll have a few more minutes of sun and maybe a few more degrees of temperature as well.
Brandy, Brandy, can I?
Yeah.
March 9th.
Oh, is that not what I said? I read March 9th, and did I say something different? Thank you. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm tired. I have no idea what I said then, but I meant Monday, March 9th. I'm going to have to look back and see what I said. I'm so sorry.
You said the 26th.
Did I say the 26th?
Yeah.
Really? I have no idea where that came from. I'm so sorry, everyone.
That's
all right. Monday, March 9th.